Hey y'all, it's Lataya, aka the multifaceted mom, and I am back with another video. So I did say that backwards, but y'all get the point. So today I really just want to talk about my abstinent journey, and my journey of decentering men this year, which was absolutely phenomenal and peaceful. And I'm really excited about, the things that I learned, the things that I learned about myself, the things that I've had time to reflect on, and accountability that I had to take, in terms of, just where I am and the choices that I've made in my life. So with that being said, let's get started. So why I decided to become abstinent. I actually have an outline here, so if I look down, don't clock it, okay? But I decided to become abstinent literally right after I decided to leave my marriage. So since my husband, it's been nobody else, or my ex-husband, it's been nobody else, right? So with that, I told y'all or explained that in that marriage, I had a lot of time, or I actually started my therapy journey while I was in a marriage, and I started to really, open up different wounds of being SA'd, and it really opened my eyes to how being SA'd as a young kid and being overly sexualized and overly exposed to a lot of things and violated at a young age really opened me up to being a overly sexual or hypersexual teenager and a hypersexual girl who was extremely detached from sex, to where, not to say sex didn't mean anything when it came to like, oh, I just don't want it. It was more so I like the feeling, but I'm not attached to the person that's giving me the feeling. And that's pretty much been my relationship with sex. So when I got into a relationship with my husband, or my ex-husband, who was, I would say we had a very sexual relationship. Like I said, I started that relationship really only wanting to be friends with benefits. I had no desire to have a relationship. So it was already starting on a terrible foundation, right? And, I take accountability for that, because with me being hypersexual, with me having this like desire to like not necessarily want to get to know him as a person before committing, but more so like clicking and vibing and just loving what he did for me, or how he made me feel, including with the sex. I feel like that's really what had me distracted, and it led me to make some really bad decisions in the marriage, bad decisions in a relationship. It led me to betray myself and my own comfort in order to kind of satisfy somebody else. And I think that, with that being said, while I was in the marriage and I was exploring, like acknowledging like, wow, you were sexually abused, you were sexually assaulted as a kid, and it led you into this relationship where you are also being violated in different ways. Let's start from ground zero. So when I left that marriage, I had absolutely no desire to have sex. That's one. I do not want to lead you astray and make you think that I did not have sex because, or I wanted to be abstinent for God. It was for me. It was for me because I wanted to take power over my body and my choices again. After being through what I had been through. And that pretty much lasted for a good year. And I remember being very honest with myself and saying that, I am abstinent because I'm choosing to be abstinent, because I want power over my body. I feel very empowered not having sex. I feel very empowered having a very clear mind and just having a choice to say nobody can touch me. And I always would tell my friends, like, I don't know that if I get into a relationship again, I feel safe emotionally and sexually and mentally to have sex, I'm not going to have sex. Like, I don't think I can see myself waiting till marriage. However, things definitely shifted in my journey as my desire to get closer with God became very strong. Now, don't get me wrong. While I was in this journey of being abstinent, even in the very beginning, I was started to read my devotion. I brought a Bible. I started to go to church and listen to church every single day. So I still had that relationship with God. I just was real with myself and knowing that I don't have the desire to wait till marriage to have sex. However, y'all, I started listening to, I don't know if y'all know him, Tony Gaskins. And I realized that sex, for one, sex was never meant to be had before marriage. And the reason as to why I was so hypersexual was because I was violated as a child. It was because I was very much exposed to things I shouldn't have been exposed to. And it did lead me to make bad decisions. It led me to be in situations that I shouldn't have been in at a very early age. So, I started to really seek God in my decision to be abstinent and said, God, I want to be abstinent until marriage. I want that desire. I don't have it, but I want it. And once I became comfortable and vulnerable enough to pray for the desire to be abstinent until marriage, I feel like the desire started to slowly come, because not only was I learning that, sex is not as powerful, and it shouldn't be so powerful that I feel that I'm already planning to betray God and what he wants for us before I'm even in a situation. I also, realized that sex had blinded my decision so bad that if I wanted a godly relationship in the future, if I wanted a godly man in the future, I'm not only doing this for me, but it's just I have to make better decisions for my children, better decisions for, my kids, and whatever man I bring into their life. So I have to do things differently. And I also seen a lot of women in my family kind of have this sex craved mindset, and they're in their freaking 40s and 50s. And I do not want to judge them, but I did kind of think wow, every man decision that they've made has been based off of lust and just the desire to want to be wanted, not knowing their self-worth, things like that. So it's like, do I want to kind of continue on that journey, or do I want to set my own journey of detaching from sex? So this journey of detaching from sex was now turning from, taking power and being empowered in my own body to, I want to do this God's way. I want to do life God's way. I want to do a partner God's way. I've already done it on my own. I've already been outside the will of God. I'm thankful that my purpose came from my marriage. Not like my purpose in like the marriage part, but like just the miscarriages and my kids, becoming a mom therapist. Like that really did come from my marriage. Me growing as a person came from me being put in that situation and seeing things that I did not like within myself that I didn't even know was there. I'm like, dang, sis, you toxic. A lot of great things came from that marriage because I grew a lot, right? But I also know that was still that was outside of God's will. I was never meant to marry that man. And I'm okay with that because, it was a life learning lesson. But now that I have another chance, I am telling God, God, give me the desire to not have sex. Give me the desire to wait till marriage, to really detach so I can do it your way, so I can have a partner that you want for me, not that I want for myself. Because truth be told, when you start having sex, you become so emotionally attached, whether you like it or not. You become emotionally attached. You are blinded by red flags. You are not able to really be logical about a lot of situations. You might be able to see it and say, oh, that's a red flag. But are you able to not still go down a lot of people would see a yellow brick road turn black as they continue to step and continue to, be with the person, but they won't stop and turn around and say that's not for me, because sex is involved, because now you're so deeply involved, and now time has went on because you've just been like moving and not actually pausing. And I think for me that's what happened. And I mean, granted, when I was in a relationship, I was so blindly in love, y'all. I didn't even think about what red flags. Okay, like it was more so like this man made me feel great. You know, this man gave me certain things that I didn't know I needed, which is gonna lead me to my next point. Of like, you know, certain things that I learned about myself, but you know, throughout the journey, I really had to pray over my desire to want to be abstinent. And then certain things that I learned about myself is that not only where that desire from sex came from, but I definitely think that sex has played a huge role in me just wanting to be desired. And when I look at girls who are in a hoe phase, girls who are like really just like, you be like, dang, you had sex with how many people? You what? You cheated on your husband or your boyfriend with how many people? Like, dang, it really be daddy issues, y'all. Like, that junk is so rooted in just the need to be desired by somebody. That's the addiction. It's not addicted to sex. It's addicted to the need to be desired. And for me, that's what I learned about myself. Like, I had such a need to be desired, and my ex gave me that. Like, he paid me so much attention. My dad, probably within the last like 5 years, I can count on like one hand how many times he has called me to say, how are you doing? Are you okay? Just want to tell you I love you. Like, he does not do that, and that's for whatever reason it is. I've accepted it, but I had to go on a huge self-worth journey, because a lot of your self-worth and what you know about self-worth comes from your family, comes from your parents, specifically your mom and your dad. And I've learned self-worth in different ways from each of them, but a lot of it has been wanting to be chosen, wanting to be desired. And that's where a lot of my parents kind of fell short in some of their shortcomings, you know, from whatever they went through. And I think when I learned this, being abstinent and just in my abstinent journey, it gave me an opportunity to, for the first time in my life, not be desired by a man, not put myself in a situation where I'm just texting men, just to see, you know, just to get that attention, where I'm just on a dating app and I'm just like, oh, let me just see who liked my picture. Let me just start conversations. Let me, you know, entertain. Like, I was really telling men that came up to me, I'm not dating right now. Like, I have no desire, because again, I've already seen how my path looks when I take it, when it's outside of the will of God. I wanted to take that time to figure out what it feels like to not be desired, and how can I make myself feel like I am worthy of love, instead of kind of grasping at any love that a man or anybody gives me and feeling like I have to accept it for what it is because that's the way they love. This opportunity, or this time that I've taken to be abstinent, to decenter men, has really gave me the opportunity to figure out, like, oh no, your dad might love you in this way, your mom might love you in this way, but this is actually the definition of love that is in its truest form, and this is actually what you need, and you won't accept anything less than that. But I think that when you just constantly go from relationship to relationship, situation to situation, you never get the chance to feel that void, like to feel the void of a man desiring you, of a man showing you attention, of sex. Now, you know, I've had the opportunity to really understand my own needs, to really understand, like, oh, Taya, you are the stuff, without a man telling you. Like, to even feel like, okay, your dad didn't meet your needs when you were young. How can you meet your own needs? your mom might have chose your stepdad over you, or might have not protected you the way you need to be protected. How can you protect yourself? Like, I've really taken that time to heal, to forgive, but also to really heal and give myself what I need. But I don't think that if I jumped to another relationship, if I started having sex, if I started entertaining men, I don't think I would have had the opportunity to really explore the deep healing that needed to take place, or even just the self-worth that I did not have. Like, a lot of women do not have self-worth. They might have a little self-esteem, they might have some self-confidence, but a lot of women or people do not have self-worth. They just kind of go through life just on autopilot. And now that I've been absent, and now that I've like really decentered me, and now that I have like really went on this deep healing journey, y'all, I've been in therapy every single week. I've journaled more than I've ever journaled. I've read more books. I've like really taken the time to do the work. And when I tell you, my eyes, the veils have been lifted, I see so many things in like different ways that a lot of people don't see them. So when I see a woman that can't be single for even a year, I know for a fact they have deep rooted issues. When I see a woman that sees hella red flags and continues to try to be with somebody, or continues to, try to work it out, I see a lack of self-worth, because I've been there. And I think that, of course, I give myself a lot of grace for not knowing what I don't know, so I don't judge anybody. But I definitely feel like now that I've taken that time to be single, it's a whole new world, y'all. But lastly, I would say over the last probably like year, y'all, I've really enjoyed being single. Like, I feel like when you are single and when you just don't do things for the male gaze, you really understand what you want for yourself. And like, my level of self-love outside of like, therapy and just establishing boundaries and stuff like that, my level of self-love have reached an all-time high. Like, I am able to honor my feelings in a whole new way. I don't have to care about if somebody else validates my feelings. I validate my own feelings. I do not care if somebody doesn't, doesn't agree with my opinion on something. I don't care. I think being single and decentering men has also helped me to be okay with being alone, which has made it 1,000 times easier to have boundaries and not care about what other people think of them. And again, standing on business is very hard. It's hard. Everybody can do it. Actually, I would say 75% of people cannot stand on business. Like, you might talk about standing on business, but you really can't stand on business, because a lot of people haven't learned to be alone. A lot of people have not learned to like really fill their own cup up. And like actually feel what it's like for your cup to be empty without somebody else filling your cup up. Like, people have not really taken that time a lot of times to deal with their own shit. Like, and that's just what it is. So that autopilot that a lot of people on, I'm not on that anymore. I'm very conscious, very intentional. And I would just encourage everybody to, of course, I say be abstinent because that's what God wants you to do. And again, sometimes God will allow you to live outside his will. He will. Because we all have free will. And he'll allow you to have a 20-year marriage with a man you was never supposed to be with. He will allow you to still stay in a relationship where you getting disrespected, abused, cheated on for 5, 10, 7 years, having kids with them. He will allow you to do it. And it will never be a part of his plan. But it's all because you decided that you wanted to put your self-worth in a man and in a man in a relationship and fulfilling a man instead of yourself and then God. So I'm just saying, y'all, being abstinent has opened up a whole different world. I don't judge women who have sex. Sex is enjoyable. I'm just saying that when you don't have sex and when you actually take the time to learn the lessons that you need to learn from past relationships, from, whether it was a good relationship or okay relationship, My ex, I could say a lot of good things about him, and I could say a lot of bad things about him. But at the end of the day, it does not matter. It's about what I want. And I think that when you decenter men and really focus on yourself, you give yourself permission to be the main character in your own story and to write your own story. So, with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe for more.